Welcome to episode 9. We're here to talk about the Phillips curve. The Phillips curve is just showing a relationship between unemployment and inflation. But before we get there, we need to look at that wage determination equation that we were briefly touching upon last time, and price setting equations. For this, we really want to assume a functioning line form of f, which means that instead of having f bracket uz, which basically describes the function, you actually put the function in and you can sub it in like this. The reason we do that is because now we actually have a function that we can solve, and we solve it for p, so the price. The biggest relationship we can determine here is that when unemployment drops, the price increases. And the reason for that again is because when unemployment is low, there's lots of labor, so employers are more scarce. So we need to pay them higher wages to incentivize them to join our workforce. And overall, if everyone's getting paid more, they're spending more, driving the prices up. Now I'll show you how the Phillips curve has actually been determined and derived. How fun. Remember how the equation for inflation was basically dividing by the price from the previous or the starting year? It's the same thing here. So if we take this equation and just divide both sides by p, t minus 1, so the last year's price, we get this. And since now we basically have those equations for inflation involved, we can just sub those in, so the sign of inflation rather than p over pt minus 1. Within this, there will be, of course, a role played by the expected inflation. And the equation that you need to remember for the expected inflation is this one. So 1 minus theta times by the constant inflation plus theta inflation from last year. So then you follow a couple steps of rearranging, so the maths, the calculus. If this is something that you struggle with, you can book in one-on-one tutoring with me and we can really go through all of those steps, and I can show you how you can do these yourself, get you to practice some of them. This big equation with all the thetas actually has changed since around the 1960s. So especially in the USA, before 1960s, we assumed that theta was equal to 0. However, now we assume that it's equal to 1. So really it cancels out with where it says 1 minus theta. Theta is now 1 minus 1 is 0, so that just cancels and goes away. So this is our finalized modern version of the Phillips curve equation. Remember last episode, I told you about the natural rate of unemployment, so UN. So this actually can play a part here too. So linking that in the scenario of the natural rate of unemployment, everything else is constant. So that means that the current prices are the expected prices, current inflation is the expected inflation. So we actually use that in the Phillips curve. And it just brings in like another dimension, another consideration of what happens in the case of natural unemployment. And through this, we can actually rearrange and get an equation for natural unemployment. And so that means that every time you increase M or Z or both, that's going to increase your natural rate of unemployment. So you know what to not do if you don't want to increase unemployment, which obviously no one does want to increase unemployment. We all want jobs. So linking it back to the Phillips curve, this is how it would sit in it. And when all other options have been exhausted, this sometimes is the only way to actually fight unemployment in a recession. And that's it. And remember, you can book a tutoring session with me one-on-one. See ya. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. Yeah? Come back.